Hello, my beautiful friends and family out there in Renegade Land. I don't know why I'm sitting like this, all menacing. And I just realized my pillow is upside down on my chair. I have a Captain America chair, that's why I have this Marvel pillow on the back of my head. Anyway, welcome to Renegade's live stream of me painting G.I. Joe Mission Critical models, miniatures for their upcoming, currently on Kickstarter. My beard is all jacked up. I should have cleaned myself up before this. Oh well. They're currently on Kickstarter board game thing, G.I. Joe Mission Critical. I put some teasers out there on social media. If you don't follow all of the social media, let me plug those real quick. Renegade has 2 Facebook groups that you should know about. They have a G.I. Joe Tabletop Game Facebook group that you should definitely join. And they have a Renegade Painters Facebook group, which you should also join. Both of them are really good and great places to find photos of what I'm painting, what other people are painting, stuff about the game and all that. Also, I have my own personal place, social medias, which you should also check out. So I am at It's So Tiny on Facebook and on TikTok, and at The Real Daddy Louie on Instagram. I post all the teasers and stuff over there as well, polls and things like that for people to get involved. So definitely check all those out. But like I was saying, I posted a teaser about what we were painting. Some people got it right. Some people joked around, which was great. It was a pretty obvious one. This week we are painting Snake Eyes. 2 weeks ago when we streamed and painted CoverGirl, I teased that I was going to be painting 2 models today. And that is true. I am going to be painting 2 models today. Let's go down to the table and let me show you what we're going to be painting. So here we have the Snake Eyes model. And this is not the Kickstarter exclusive Snake Eyes. This is the regular starter set, core game Snake Eyes. There is another Snake Eyes model that unfortunately I do not have to paint for you today. That is a Kickstarter exclusive that you will be getting if you back the Kickstarter, which, like I said, is up right now. So what is the other miniature that I'm painting? Well, I'm painting Snake Eyes. So I'm also going to be painting this Snake Eyes model, which is the RPG Snake Eyes miniature, if you get the RPG models. So as you can see, he's significantly smaller. Why am I painting both of them? Well, 2 reasons. One, the Snake Eyes is not a complicated character to paint, right? So he's primarily black. His visor is silver if you paint it silver, some of the photos. And he's had a glossy sunglass-looking visor, black. But for the most part, he's got the silver visor. And then, of course, his katana, which is also silver. Other than that, his whole costume is black, pretty much. So I decided to paint the other Snake Eyes as well, so that I can try different techniques and you can see how both of them look, and it kind of helps fill the 2 hours that we have together. Well, 1 hour and 55 minutes now because of my rambling. So, first things first, we're going to start with the Mission Critical miniature, and the reason that we're going to start with that is because we're going to use contrast paint on him, and it takes a little while. Sorry, I don't mean to be talking super fast. It takes a little while for that to dry. So, that's what we're going to start with. And because I have 0 self-control whatsoever, I have purchased a new wet palette that I'm going to be trying out. So, we're going to give that a go. It's this nice blue color, and it comes with lots of extra stuff, which I'm not going to use right now because I don't need it. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. Okay, what did I say? Contrast paints. So, we're going to use a contrast paint by the name of Black Templar. This is a Citadel product, and this is going to basically create our base layer and our wash all in one go. So you want to make sure that you shake these up really well because they do separate in the bottle. So I'm going to shake it up really well, use my paint stirrer, which is off to the side, and then we'll get started. I'm basically going to slop this all over the entire miniature. And like I said, I want to show you guys different painting techniques. Some of you may not be familiar with how I paint. Maybe you haven't seen my Power Ranger streams and stuff like that. So, and that's okay. So I'm going to show you new stuff. So this is contrast painting. Yeah. So let's just go ahead and start slopping this on here. Contrast paint is pretty straightforward. You don't need a ton of technique, especially if you're just doing it how I'm using it, which is for a base layer. You can use it for other things in which you do need to use some different techniques, but how I'm doing it is just, again, I'm trying to create a base layer and and a wash all in one go. Another way that you could, of course, paint this miniature is just prime it black, right? Prime it black, and then do a few highlights and your silver, and you're done. But had I done that, then this stream would be all of 5 minutes, and nobody wants that, right? So we're going to try different techniques and show you different ways to paint black and different ways to paint snake eyes. And then when we get to the other model, I'm going to use a completely different technique, and we'll see how the two kind of compare when we're done. Trying to make sure that this gets in every little crack and crevice. I actually did two primers on this, the same primer, but when I was looking at the model to take photos and get ready for like my teasers and stuff like that, I had realized that the first time I had primed it, I missed a few spots, so I just decided to go back over the entire model. So this paint should adhere really well because it's got a very good coat of double primer on there. What primer did I use? So I use Wraithbone from Citadel. It is not classified as a primer, although I use it as a primer. They classify it as like a cover spray. It is specifically marketed as what you should buy if you're going to use contrast paints. So when I got into contrast painting, I of course bought that because they marketed it for me, and I have zero self-control and buy everything. And I used it one time for contrast painting, and I fell in love with it. It has great coverage. It's super smooth, holds the paint really well, and so now I basically use it 99.9% of the time for priming my miniatures. There are rare occasions where I will prime stuff black. That's mostly when I'm doing batch painting and I don't want to, or gray, and I don't want to I don't want to paint every single model with base colors or whatever. Do you need a primer to undercoat models? Great question. The short answer is yes and no. It all depends on the miniature. 99% of the time, yes, you need a primer down on your miniature before you start painting, I also always recommend that you wash the miniature with soap and water, mild detergent of some kind, and water to get off any residue from the manufacturer, as it can affect how paint dries to a model. And then you should definitely put a primer on the miniature. The only instance that I have found that you do not need a primer on a miniature is there are miniatures out there from both Reaper and WizKids that I'm aware of. I'm sure there are more, but those are the main ones that I know. WizKids makes D&D and Pathfinder miniatures, so specifically those is what I'm talking about. As well as a company called Reaper, who makes a line of miniatures called Reaper Bones. And actually, I have a tip video about those over on my socials, so you should check that out. And in those cases, those miniatures, the WizKids ones are pre-primed, so you do not need to prime them. And the Reaper Bones are manufactured with a type of plastic that does not require primer. You just slap on the... I thought I just saw a space that didn't have stuff on it, but I'm imagining it apparently, because I don't see it now. You just wash the miniature with soap and water, and it's ready to paint, no primer required. So that's cool. And those are great miniatures to learn to practice painting on before you go to your board game miniatures or your more special miniatures, just to get the practice in, because they're like a couple of dollars each. And if you screw up, then you only wasted a couple dollars. Yeah, so that's kind of the long way of answering your question. So here's our second model, like I mentioned in the beginning. This is the Snake Eyes model for the RPG. And instead of using contrast paint, which I put the other miniature off to the side so it can dry, we're going to use regular paint. And because I like to paint everything with German gray, except for the last miniature I painted, which I used no German gray, or did I? I might have actually snuck it in there now that I think about it. I don't remember. I'm looking at the miniature right now out of the corner of my... I think maybe I didn't. I might have done that whole miniature with no German gray. Anyway, that was a Power Ranger miniature from last week. So I'm going to paint this entire miniature with German gray to start. That's going to be our base coat. Why do I use German gray and not black? That's a great question. No one asked it, but I'm going to tell you anyway. The reason is because I like a slightly lighter shade of gray or black, so that I can use a wash to help create tones. If I were to just... it's possible that I did use it on the cape. I don't remember. So yeah, I like to use a slightly lighter color, and German gray fits that bill really well. And it's very smooth. It's got great coverage. It's just a great paint. So overall, I like to use German gray as my base black, so that I can create depth and shadows and all sorts of cool stuff. And this is a tiny model. It's not very big, so we don't need a lot of paint on our palette. And if we need more, it's better to add more than have too much. I have a tendency to put way too much paint on my palette. That's something that I've always struggled with, because I just slop it on my palette and I'm like, whoa, that was way too much. So I'm trying to get better with that, especially because I've been spending extra time trying to learn blending and stuff like that, and you need lots of palette room for that because you've got to create multiple shades of color. So I'm definitely working on that skill. I guess it's not really a skill, it's just self-control, which we already established I have none of. It's probably why I put too much paint on my palette. So yeah, we're just doing a nice coverage of the entire model. I did do, with this particular model, I did do a zenithal highlight, which if you are not aware of what that is, you start with a base coat of black primer, and then you go with a lighter shade over top of it from the top down. So you see here that on the top it's white, but underneath it was black. So it helps create natural highlights. However, I probably didn't need to do that because it's such a small model that it won't make a tiny difference. I mean, it won't make much of a difference. It will be slight. So, yeah, in hindsight, I probably didn't need to do that, but I did, and so I thought I'd mention it. This is a weird song. It's like, the person you're calling is not available. Let's switch that, because that's going to drive me nuts. Sounds like someone's trying to call me on my computer, and they're not. It's the song. See, in this case, I need a little more paint, so I will use that. I really like this paint holder that I'm currently using, or the miniature holder that I'm currently using. I got this from a Kickstarter a long time ago, and I don't use it enough because, unfortunately, it's really made for smaller models. Bigger models, which I tend to paint more, like the Power Rangers and the Mission Critical models, it would just be too big to fit in here. But what I like about it is I can hold it like this, and it helps me to not touch the miniature when I'm painting. So it's a really nice holder. I wish I could remember. I don't know if they sell it. And what's cool about it is it comes with these bottle caps. So you can put the miniature with some sticky tack on the bottle cap and then just screw it off of this thing and put another model on. So I'm still not touching the miniature. It's great for batch painting and just these smaller models. You could probably use it for like Tyranids or smaller Space Marines, Scouts and stuff. But I would say anything bigger, anything probably 40 millimeter or larger, and it just won't fit. It's just too big. So, yeah. That's what we're dealing with there. Or I shouldn't say that's what we're dealing with. That's what I am using. I don't know that they sell them regularly. I got this from a Kickstarter like years and years and years ago. So if you ever find anything like this, highly recommend it. It's great. There's another one out there that uses corks, kind of similar to this, but you really only want to use corks. I mean, I guess you could use them for everything, but I tend to only use corks to hold the model if I'm pinning the model to the base. And I think I've only done that once ever in the 5+ years I've been painting, so pinning models is not fun for me. I don't enjoy doing it at all, so I just haven't done it. So there's our Snake Eyes. He has German gray all over him. And as you can tell, it's pretty close to black. It's just an offshoot of black, and it's a great color, great coverage. So I'm going to set that off to the side and let that dry and pull back over my Mission Critical Snake Eyes. And you can see here we've already got amazing coverage. This looks great on this miniature. Sometimes the black contrast paint isn't the greatest, but this time it is. You can see a few places where it didn't stick. Here on his back, you can see right there it didn't stick. Here on his hand, right there, you can see it didn't stick. When that happens, it happens with all contrast paint. It's not anything that I did. It's just the paint didn't flow there right. The only way that I could have done that a little better was to put more on there, but then it would have looked splotchy in places, and I don't want that. So, how do we fix it? Well, we have two choices. We could do a second coat. We have three choices. Second coat over the whole thing, but that will darken it beyond what I want. So that's out for me in this situation. The other thing that we could do is put contrast paint just in those locations, which I would need to use an extremely small detail brush so that I get the paint just in those spots, because I don't want to put blobs there because it's going to create these spots where it's significantly darker where that thing was. Or you can do what I'm actually going to do, which is option number 3, door number 3. And that's just to, when I'm doing my highlighting, just cover it up with a highlight there. So this is still not done drying. I'm going to go ahead and decide what paint color I'm going to use for my silver, because obviously silver is the other most important color here, black and silver, because that's what, Snake Eyes is all about, is his black and silver costume. So if you didn't watch last week, my painting video on Ranger Slayer, I got some new paints in the mail. I got these Pro Acryls. And other than the black, I was not a fan of the black. I really liked them. I shouldn't say really. I liked them, and I need to use them more. So in this particular instance, I am going to use the silver that came with that set, because that was one of the paint colors that I actually did like. It's brighter than... Oh, gosh, I dropped him. It is brighter than your traditional silver paint, and I say traditional, I use lead belcher for everything. But I'm okay with it being a brighter color because I want it to pop, and I can always put a wash on it. So this is silver. Sometimes I put paint. I put metallic paint on my palette. Sometimes I do not. I don't usually like putting metallics on my palette because I don't want them to run in with the other paints. In this case, I'm only using a small amount, so I'm okay with it, because it shouldn't run into my other colors. So I'm going to grab my brush and some of this paint, and I'm going to paint the blade this silver color. It's definitely pretty light, and so I will probably put a wash on that. Because it's very, it's a very bright silver. If you don't have Pro Acryls and you would like to follow along with me here, the other option that I would use if I'm using Citadels, for example, like I mentioned, would be lead belcher, or any silver that you have access to. Army Painter makes great metallics too. It's pretty much the only Army Painter I use is the metallics, so although I don't use them as often as I probably should. And then I want to go ahead and get the visor, because that particular thing is dry, so I just want to be super careful here that I do not get any of the silver on the black. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I do realize that Snake Eyes, in some of the comics, some of the movies, some of the cartoon, and all that stuff, doesn't have a silver visor. He has a black visor. But again, as I've mentioned a few times, then we would literally just be painting the model all black, and I want to have a little pop, so I am doing the silver. Just really taking my time with this part because I really do not want to get silver where silver does not go. And I am going to end up putting a wash on that because it's a lot lighter than I want it to be. He also has these grenades on his chest. So normally I would paint grenades silver. I may do that because I really want to have some extra pop here. I'm looking at photos, reference photos. I'm not seeing a ton of photos where he has those grenades on his chest. But the couple that I see, at least one of the reference photos that I'm looking at, they are silver. So I'm going to go ahead and paint them silver. Again, I will put a wash on these so they don't seem as bright. But I just think it's important to have as much that's not black on here as possible. So I am going to paint these grenades on his chest this silver color. And these will look slightly different once I get that wash on there. Okay. And he's got some buckles and some snaps and stuff. But honestly, on the miniature, or on all the reference photos, all those things are black. So his buckles are black and everything. And I think it's because he wants to be stealthy, right? So I'm not going to paint those buckles silver as much as I want to. Maybe I will paint them with a black silver or a dark silver. We'll see. But for now, I want to let that dry so that I can put a wash on it. And meanwhile, I'm going to move over here to my other Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes number 2. And again, we're going to do the same thing. I'm painting the silver. I might do some blood splatter on this miniature. Like his blades and stuff. Like he's in the middle of a fight. But we'll see when we get to the end how I feel about that. Dry brushing his clips could work. Yeah, that's not a terrible idea. I just don't know what color I would dry brush them. I guess I could dry brush them a metallic. What color are the grips of his katanas? I think they're just black. Why you got so much black, bro? See, and then in this picture, this action figure, his buckles are silver. Maybe I'll do one with silver and one without silver. I don't know. I don't know what to do. But yeah, it looks like his the handles on his katana are also black, so that's fun. He's got these grenades, so I'm going to go ahead and paint the grenades with that silver, just like I did on the other guy. Maybe I'll paint the buckles silver on the bigger guy and not on the smaller guy. But I am going to do like a black metal instead of a like silver color. Because I do have some dark metal colors, some paints. So why not use them? But I will not paint the buckles on this Snake Eyes because the details are super small anyway, and it wouldn't make much of a difference. And when it comes to miniatures for an RPG, because they're so small, you don't necessarily need to get as detailed as the bigger miniature. I should dry brush pink. That would be interesting, for sure. Alright, so I'm going to let him sit for a minute. I'm going to go back over here to our other Snake Eyes. I like this bouncing between. It's kind of fun. Alright, I got my brush cleaned off. Let's see. I got 2 black metal colors. I got dark silver and I got black metal from scale 75. So these are pretty These are pretty similar. I think I'm going to go with the dark metal from Pro Acryl. Just because I'm trying to, test these paints out, see if I like them. I already know that I like the black metal from Scale 75. It's pretty much one of the only colors I do like from Scale 75. So, yeah. Let's give this a... I should do a neon snake eyes. Or a pink snake eyes. I definitely like the idea of doing a color that's not common. Maybe, what would be cool is like a camouflage. Like a snow camouflage. But I know that eventually we're going to get miniatures that have that snowy Arctic camouflage. So yeah, this is dark metal from Pro Acryl. Just a little bit on my palette there. And I'm looking for buckles. So this buckle here. On his leg strap. And it's barely noticeable, which I like. So it's going to give us a metallic sheen or shine to it. Without being like super poppy to take away from. I learned this trick recently from watching YouTube videos, because I watch streamers and stuff paint too. And one of the things that the streamer or the YouTuber had said is, when you're painting a model, when it comes to a miniature, the most detailed... Two things happen. When you're looking at the miniature when it's finished, your eyes immediately go to two places. The first place they go is always the brightest color. That's just a natural thing that people, experience with their eyesight. The second thing that happens is your eyes immediately go to the two most detailed parts of the miniature. So as a painter, what you should do is find those two spots that you want people's attention to draw to, and you want to use the brightest colors that you can without obviously ruining the model or going against your theme. You want to paint them with the brightest color and the most detail. The rest of the miniature doesn't really matter as much. You can have, inaccuracies and screw-ups and stuff, because people's eyes and their focus are going to go to those super detailed parts. So in this case, this miniature, the thing that's most iconic about Snake Eyes, right, is the visor across the mask. So we've done that. We've made the visor pop with that bright silver. And the other thing that's kind of iconic about him is, I think it's going to be these red stripes that are going to go on his shoulder. Because if you don't know, Snake Eyes has, in almost every reference photo I've looked at, he's got these this logo. I think it might be like his clan symbol or something like that, but it's on his right shoulder. So here on the shoulder, that's where we're going to draw it. And yes, I'm going to have to freehand it, and that's going to stink. But we'll get to that when we get to it. So those are the two things I want to focus everyone's attention on, is those two spots. And I just got some silver on the strap, so gonna have to fix that in a moment.
The goal of practice is always to keep our beginner's mind.
Fixing mistakes on contrast paint is not the easiest. The best thing that you can do is, if possible, cover it up with your highlights and stuff. So I'm looking for rivets. I'm looking for straps. Or not straps, but buckles. Buckles and rivets. That's where I'm trying to put this dark metal color. He doesn't have a ton, so... Alright, and that's it. I'm going to put him off to the side for just a moment. I'm going to pull back my little guy. We'll call him little guy. And I am going to do some straps or some buckles and stuff on him too. I changed my mind because it's not a lot, and why not? And I actually noticed a minor mistake here. Yeah, I like how there's how each miniature has a different pose. I like that too. I did not finish painting this katana handle, and I may go back and actually add some red to that just to give an extra color. I'm imagining that his katana handles have red straps across them. They don't in the photos, but that's okay. All right, so now I want to go ahead and get started on putting the wash on, because that's going to require some drying time. So let me go ahead and find my wash. I'm going to use the standard Nuln Oil, and I'm going to put this on the big miniature. I'm going to put it on his on the metallic parts, the bright silver, and on the little guy, I'm going to put it on the whole model. Because remember, we used German gray on him, not the contrast paint. So he's actually not black, he's gray, and I want him to be closer to black. So I'm going to put the wash on the whole miniature, which is going to darken it up, give us some contrast in the recesses, and allow us to do a phenomenal job doing highlights and stuff. And I was nervous going into the stream that I was not going to have enough to do with these miniatures to fill the entire time. But it would appear, just based on what time it is now, I've done a pretty good job filling time just with my babbling. So I probably will be able to fill all the time. And if for some reason we come up just short, I do have a backup plan to extend it a little bit. But I won't spoil that because it may not happen. Alright, so that's on the entire miniature. I'm going to set that aside to let that marinate. And now I'm going to get the big boy out here. And again, I'm only going to put it on the blade here to darken down that silver. On the grenades. And on the mask. Who's your favorite Joe and or the one you're looking forward to playing the most from the core set? From the core set. Remind me who all is in the core set, because I don't know off the top of my head. I know that my favorite Joe in the Joe universe is not currently in the game from either expansion or the core set, which is a bummer, but he's a pretty iconic character, so I know he will be coming, probably with future expansions. It's just initially it's a bummer because I was hoping he would be there and he's not. And that is Shipwreck. Shipwreck is actually my favorite Joe. I would say of everything in the Kickstarter, the thing I'm most excited to paint is Destro or Cobra Commander, because who doesn't like to paint villains? I mean, of all the miniatures I've painted of all the miniatures that I've painted for this game so far, Dr. Mindbender was my favorite to paint. Not just because he was a villain, but because it was a cool miniature. But I mean, like I said, who doesn't like to paint the villains? Because I know I do. They're super fun to paint in any game. Snake Eyes, Scarlet, Duke, Stalker, and Covergirl. So of those 5, I'd probably say either Scarlet and Stalker, because I haven't painted those yet. I have painted CoverGirl, Duke, and now Snake Eyes, and I like to paint the miniatures that I paint, or that I have before I like to paint the miniatures before I play the game if I can, and I've already got Duke, CoverGirl, and soon to be Snake Eyes, so I'm most excited to see Scarlet and Stalker. And of the two, probably Scarlet, because painting females is fun. But I do hope they bring Shipwreck to the game very, very soon, because he is, and forever will always be my favorite Joe. I think I have a Shipwreck action figure. I guess I don't. I was looking to see if I did. I might have one in storage somewhere. I know of all my Joes, he was the only one that I kept. Obviously, looking back, I wish I had kept them all, but he was the only one that I kept, which is interesting. So something else that I'm going to do on this miniature while I wait for stuff is I'm going to start to pick out some of the details to give this some, I don't want to say definition because that's not the right word, but contrasts of different grays and blacks and stuff. So this is just German gray. I'm looking for armor pieces with the German gray because it's a shinier gray than all the other grays. And again, the armor I'm imagining would be shiny. It wouldn't be a matte color, so I'm going to use this German gray. I may actually want to use black now that I think about it, just straight black. Maybe I want to paint the straps with German gray. Again, I'm looking to try and create contrast of the different colors. So yeah, I think I like the straps being this German gray better. And then I can paint the armor pieces straight black, and then put a put Ard coat on it to make them kind of glossy. I think that's what I'll end up doing. And I don't know how well you can see that on camera, the difference in tone there between the black that is his costume and the German gray that I'm painting on the straps. I just want to have different grays, and I may even bust out some of the blue grays, because that's always fun to do, is giving highlights in blue, like classic comic books. So fun fact, back in the day, when comic books were relatively new, one of the most expensive colors for them to paint with was gray. I apologize. It was green. And that is why the Hulk initially was gray in the comics, is because green was expensive to print. And blue was, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, one of the cheaper colors to print. And so artists would use blue instead of like blacks and grays and stuff to to do the shading and all that. So that's why comics, especially older comics, you tend to see blue used more as a shade than black and gray and stuff, because blue is super cheap to print, so they made more money. I learned that not too long ago. Yes, that is why Batman, they use, especially for Batman, like when they were shading him and stuff, they used blues for shadowing and stuff like that. When Batman turned black, I think Batman was initially blue. I don't know if that was. I'm not sure if he was initially blue because it was cheaper, or if they just really wanted him to be blue, and then they realized, well, he's the Dark Knight, he should be black, and then used blue for shading. I don't know what their original intention was color-wise for Batman. I think it's pretty too. I mean, he's like a billionaire. You'd think that he could afford the black paint. Yeah, you'd think so. Someone certainly couldn't somewhere. I think I got all the straps on the legs. No, I didn't get this leg. Gosh, I love this color so much. It just looks so good on everything. I am the German Gray Jedi, the German Gray Power Ranger. I think I'm the German Gray Ninja. Oh, yeah. I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. It just looks so good.
But there's a misunderstanding as to why. It's not difficult because it is hard to sit in the cross-legged position.
I don't know why these songs today are like... It's supposed to be like relaxing music. I don't need you to talk in the background, people. Switch. You're supposed to feel like relaxed, not like having to listen to what they're saying. That's not relaxing. So again, I'm just using German Gray here to try and change up the tone. I guess tone is probably the right word. Of the blacks and grays here, so that we have some diversity in colors, which you should do when you're painting a miniature that's all black. Otherwise, we'd have been done 15 minutes ago. Actually, we'd have been done an hour ago. Not even, because I didn't start an hour ago. But you know what I mean. So yeah, he only has this one last strap. So I'm painting the straps in German Gray, and then the armor pieces I'm going to paint in straight black, and hopefully that straight black on the contrast black will pop. and give it like a shiny, textury look. We'll see. He also has all these raised edges. I really wish that I could paint them like... I mean, I can paint them any color I want, right? I'm a free man. I'm gonna grab some of this black metal and paint these straps that go over this armor, which maybe I should paint the armor first, but I'm a rebel and I'm not going to. But there's like these, what I would imagine to be metal straps or plates that go over the armor plate, and I just think this black metal on it would look cool. And it does. Win for me. Water break. Good soup. All right. So that's it for straps. That's it for the metal. So I'm going to get some black. My go-to black is always Vallejo. I like Vallejo black and German gray. And I think it's German camo black brown. Is that what it is? Yeah, German camo black brown. Those are some of my favorite Vallejo colors. I'm not a fan of the Acryl Pro Black, which I mentioned already. But so far, I've been pretty happy with the other colors. Time will tell how much I use them. But at the moment, I am using them a lot because I just got them. And I want to justify my purchase because they weren't as expensive as Scale 75s. Or Citadel for that matter, but they weren't cheap either, and I just kind of bought them on a whim because they come very highly recommended by the community. So so here's a really good example here on this. Let's see if I can get closer. In focus. That's not focused. Here you can see what I'm going for, right? So his suit, we'll call it his flight suit, is that black contrast. So that gives us like that black-gray color. Then our straps are German gray. Our armor plating here is black. And then I've got that gunmetal kind of color or black metal on the armor. And so we're staying in that black gray zone while also creating, you know, pieces for the eyes to look at instead of just, oh man, that's a really black character there. And it won't be for everybody. I'm sure somebody out there won't like it, but this is just how I like to paint a miniature that is primarily one color, is to find all kinds of different shades of that color and make it appear intentional, that each piece is not the same, made of the same material. Right, because you're painting something that's realistic. So realistically, say he made this suit, or someone made this suit for him, would all of the items on the suit be made of the same material? No. You know, the armor pieces are metal, or whatever he would use for the armor pieces, which are on his shins and his knees and his elbows. And then his flight suit underneath might be cotton or polyester. And then his belt is leather. And his, you know, grenades are metal and metallic. And so if you just paint everything black and you don't do what I'm doing now, you're giving off the impression that everything is all the same material. it's all made from the same material. And when you're painting something that has realism, real life, you can't assume that everything is the same material. So by using different shades of the same color, like I'm doing here, you're giving the illusion that every piece of his suit is made from a different type of material. I hope that makes sense. I hope that my rambling made sense. And if it didn't, I apologize. In my head, it made sense. Thank you for the compliment. I've been looking forward to painting Snake Eyes, so I'm glad that we finally got to him. I liked the idea of painting two. Hopefully we get to finish both. I was nervous I was going to be way ahead of the game, and now that I'm like in it, I'm like, man, am I going to be able to do both? It's a tall order. Because I'm taking extra time to do extra details that when I had initially planned this out, I hadn't thought about. So my primary goal here is to finish the mission critical one, and if I have time for the other one, then great. But right now I don't have anything that needs to dry, so I'm just focusing on this guy. And I don't know if these are armor pieces. They look like they are to me. So the reference photos for this guy are not consistent. Every picture you look at it, he looks different, which is a little frustrating, but it's fine because I can just make some assumptions here. And these particular things to me look like what I would call armor plating, so. Am I missing any armor plates? I could paint these leg plates, but I don't think I'm going to. Because I don't think they're plates. I think it's just part of his suit. I don't know if this is a plate. I think it might be. I'm going to call it a plate. Whew. If you had to pick, would you rather paint a model like Snake Eyes with minimum colors, but the challenge of making it texture, or a model with multiple colors and lots of easy texturing? If I had to pick, I mean, it honestly depends on. I don't want to give that answer, though, because that makes it sound like I'm avoiding the question. I don't want to say it depends on the model. I'm really enjoying painting Snake Eyes because it is so different than, you know, what I would consider to be another model. It's different from what I usually paint, so I'm enjoying that. By the way, I just mixed my gun metal, or my dark metal, and my light metal, because I'm not liking how that sword turned out. I like how the face mask turned out, and the grenades look great, but that katana just needed to just be straight silver. I didn't like the shading. I'm enjoying painting this more than I actually thought that I would. I think that I like painting with color more, like multiple colors. With less need to do shading and thinking outside the box. So if I had to pick one, I think that I would do that. But I like the challenge of doing both. Does that make sense? Like, I'm glad that I'm doing this model because this is not something that I'm used to doing. I'm going to grab some German gray, and I'm going to cover up the spots where the contrast didn't catch very lightly so that it's not showing white, but at the same time you can't tell that it's not contrast. So I'm just real lightly trying to blend that contrast into the spots where it didn't catch, because they're driving me nuts. I think I got them all. I might find another one later, but it looks like I got them all. Alright, so now I'm going to get some lighter grays. So let's see what I've got from acrylic. I'm going to go with this dark warm gray. I used it last week on the cape of the Ranger that I used, and it worked out pretty well. It's pretty lighter than German gray, which in this case I want. Again, we're just trying to find the darkest grays that we have. So just putting a little on my palette because I don't know how much I'm going to need. And I'm going to use this for the belt. I'm covering up the entire belt, and I'm going to put a wash on it in a minute. Because it's kind of covering up the details, and the wash will settle in the recesses and help bring those details back. Grab some German gray. Shit, I didn't want to mix them together, but I did. Oh well. But I had found a spot of white there. All right. I am going to do a little more of that gray in just a second. I don't know if I should put, maybe I should do black on the helmet here. Let me see how this looks. This is so tough because I can't get to the top of the miniature's head really well while keeping it in focus in the camera. I'm actually going to pull it away from the camera for just a minute. I'm just painting the top of the head, but I need to bring it closer to my face so that I don't make a mistake here, because that would be really bad when I'm this close to being done-ish and then you make a mistake. So I do apologize for that. I just don't have the technology currently and the setup to allow me to get my face really close to the model and also keep it in focus. So there's some details that, and not many, but there are some details that just do not make it possible. So again, I'm just putting the black, the straight black over top of the head. I'm not going to do the whole helmet. I'm just going to do this piece. And hopefully it looks cool. I think it will. But I will let you guys be the judge once it's dry. Alright, so that's all I did there. Maybe I'll do this piece of the mouth too. Yeah, that looks super cool. Again, these are things that are tough to see on the camera because we are looking at, all one shade. But the helmet looks super cool. So now I'm going to grab that, what was that color called? From the acryl. Dark warm gray. I'm going to grab that dark warm gray that I used on the belt. And I want to use the side of my brush here, and I just want to pick out these raised edges along the suit. This reminds me of one of the Power Ranger models that I painted somewhat recently that has like green on all of the edging. It took me forever to get all the edging. Ecliptor, maybe? Maybe that's the name of the character. I honestly can't remember. But basically what I'm doing now, I had to do over the entire model, but with green. Green can be a nightmare to paint, and the lines weren't super defined like this model is. So that took forever, as the kid from The Sandlot would say. Forever. It was not a good time for Louie. But we got through it, and we did. And it looked amazing. Yeah, it did turn out really good. It was definitely worth the effort. It was just a really big effort. Another thing that's solid about doing this way with these colors and shades and stuff is if you screw up, right? If I accidentally get gray on the black, it can look like it was intentional. Because, or you might not even be able to see it. Actually, I like that. I like putting this gray in between there. I didn't do that on purpose, but I kind of like the way that looks. I'm not going to do it on the whole model, just these stripes on the back. Or maybe here on the side too. See how this looks. I might hate it, in which case I screwed up because I've already done it. And there ain't no going back. Oh yeah, like it. Love it. I'm just looking for details on the model that I can fill in with different shades of gray. Some might say 50 shades of gray, and others might say, I don't know. I got nothing. And at the end of the day, guys, when it comes to painting, it's all about what you like and how you like the model, right? You're not going to make everybody happy. Not everybody is going to think that your paint job is a good paint job. You have to love it yourself. And at the moment, I'm really digging it. Yeah, it looks super good. I am going to get a wash for that belt, because I said I was. I keep bumping the camera today. I'm usually pretty good about that. And don't do that. And today I'm doing it a lot. So I'm getting more Nuln Oil from Games Workshop. And I'm putting it... this is going just on the belt, and it's just to... I'm not really... I mean, it's going to darken it, but that's not necessarily my goal. My goal is to add the details back in. And you do that by letting this get into the recesses, and it just adds texture back to the model. Is there anything else I can do? I did mention that I wanted to use some blues. Let's see what blues. I'm going to get some Dark Reaper. I don't know if I'll like it, so I'm going to get a very tiny amount. And I'm not going to force it. If it doesn't look good, then it doesn't look good. Where should I put it? Let's put it... I need to put it someplace that if I have to cover it up, it's okay if I cover it up. Let's just put it right here. I'm being very light with it. I don't know if I love it or not. Yeah, I don't know if I love it or not. I'm using it as a very light highlight. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. It's just too blue. And on this particular model, I don't want it to be blue. I want it to create a shade, but it's not creating a shade. It's really just giving me... I'm sorry. I don't want it to make a shade. I want it to be a highlight. And it's not really being a highlight. Down here it kind of is because it's darker, but up here it's lighter. And I just don't like the finish. So I'm just going to cover it up with that other gray. And boom, it's gone. No issues whatsoever. What I can do is get a lighter gray and see how that looks. Do I have a light gray from Pro Acryl? I did such a good job organizing my paints earlier, and now I want to make sure... Almost dropped that one back there. Okay. I want to make sure I keep that. So it doesn't come with a lighter gray. But I do have a Citadel color that is a lighter gray. But I don't want it to be super light. So what I do need to do is mix it with my German gray. Maybe. Maybe I don't. Actually, I'm going to mix it with that gray from Pro Acryl, which was... Oh, I did have a lighter gray. Where the heck did it go? Am I blind? I did have a lighter gray, right? Or was it the dark warm gray? I'm so confused. I don't remember. Alright, anyway. No, it must have been that color. Alright, so this is Dawnstone from Citadel. And a mixture of, I think, dark warm gray. And what am I going to do with it? Let's see. Let's see where I want it. I'm trying to see where light would hit. And I'm trying to pick out those details with the sharp end of my brush. Honestly, guys, there's not a lot I want to do with this color. That was a big old line. Didn't mean for that to happen. I am pretty darn happy with how he looks at the moment. I don't know that there's a ton left I need to do. And I'm at the stage in the painting process where if I keep going, thinking that I need to keep going, then I end up doing more harm than good. If that makes any sense at all. Because I end up, sometimes less is more. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I say that as I continue to go. Okay. That, to me, looks like a finished product. Oh, no, it's not. Because I haven't done the red symbol, which I 1,000% said I was going to do. Okay. So, let's look at my reference photos here. It looks to me like a pretty bright red. So I'm going to use this bold Pyrrole red. It's pretty bright red. Again, from scale 75. And I need to decide where on the model it is. So he's got 2 shoulder pads. He's got one on his upper shoulder and one on his bicep, basically. So the reference photo I'm looking at looks like it's on his upper shoulder. However, that's not a ton of space. But maybe I can do it. So freehanding is not something that Louie is good at. So it's incredibly possible that this will be a complete and total disaster. But you guys will get to see it. So I'm going to use an extremely fine brush and just go from there. Oh, where'd my picture go? It's not an overly complicated logo. Happy with that, actually. It's not terrible, considering how small I need this to be. All right, I'm going to try again. Now I kind of have a sense of what to do. This is one of the beauties of painting it on black. All I have to do is cover it up with black. And there's no shame in erasing and starting again. But now I have a general, I need to start higher up on the shoulder in order for the entire thing to fit. And I need to make very sure that my lines are skinny. Because essentially what it is, if you don't know, it's 2 lines it's 2 lines like this, then it's a long line, then it's 2 lines like this, then it's a long line, and so on for 3. So it's 2 1 2 1 2 1. And that shoulder pad is awfully darn tiny. So I need to make sure that I get in the small of it. Almost dry already, so it's good. I'm going to put him down for a minute and then go back to... We haven't looked at Tiny Snake Eyes yet. Let's take a look at him. For a tabletop standard, he looks pretty darn good. Honestly, I don't know that there's anything else I need to do with him. I'm pretty happy with it. Obviously, I want to do the base. But he's so small. I mean, I could sit there and do all the German gray straps and all that stuff, but it's not going to add value, really, to the miniature. Maybe we could do, like I said, some blood splatter. I do need to do his lines on his shoulder, but for those, I'm just going to do 3 tiny lines instead of 6 because there's just not enough room on his shoulder for it. Yep. That's pretty much the Snake Eyes look there. Maybe we'll do some blood splatter. Again, like I mentioned, use some blood for the blood god. Make it look like he was just in combat. When it comes to blood, splatter like this, using blood for the blood god, less is more. You don't need a ton of it. Because it does not darken when it's... it always stays shiny and it always stays bright red. So basically what you put on there is what it's going to look like. So let me focus that there, and you can see. Looks pretty great to me. All right, so I'm gonna put him back off to the side. Wipe my blood for the blood god off of my paint. This is a great technical paint. If you don't have this in your arsenal of paints and you ever intend on doing what I just did, just get it. And it lasts a long time. I've had that bottle for like 5 years. And I've never had an issue. I was just checking the basketball scores because my Celtics are playing today. They lost on, what day was that? Sunday? They lost on Sunday. I didn't get to watch the game, and they lost. And I'm not watching the game now, but they're up 11 points, which is good. But the first quarter just ended, so we'll see if it stays that way. Now it's not centered. Of course, now I got it to look good, and it's not centered. Man. Told you, freehanding. I'm gonna give it one more go. So I'm gonna reset one more time. And whatever I end up with the next time, we're sticking with. Because y'all don't want to see me freehand the same symbol 10 times. If I was painting on my own and I wasn't streaming, I would 100% do it 1,000 times until I got it right. All right, so oh gosh, I can't talk today. While that dries, I'm going to grab, I think it was Thunderhawk Blue I used, right? Or was it Dark Reaper? I don't remember what I'm using for my bases. It might be Dark Reaper. No, I need to check and see. Grab one of my other models that I've painted. I'll show those off too in case you haven't seen. Yeah, definitely Dark Reaper. So I'm going to put some Dark Reaper, not Thunderhawk Blue, Dark Reaper on my palette to start working on the base. It takes a couple coats of this because it's not a base paint. It is a layer paint, so it is a little more transparent than some of the other paints we've been using. So assuming we get a Transformers game that uses the Guardian system, what Autobot and Decepticon would you like to see in the game? So I'm going to not pick obvious ones. It's like I'm not going to say like, oh, Optimus Prime or Megatron. But I might pick fan favorites that aren't the quote-unquote obvious choice. So for Decepticons, I would like to see Soundwave. Because he's probably my favorite Decepticon, as he is for many people. And my favorite Autobot is 100% Grimlock. So they better bring dinos, and I have no doubt that they wouldn't. But yeah, so my answer would be Soundwave and Grimlock for Transformers. And of course, you know, I want to see Optimus and Bumblebee, but those will all happen, right? So obviously, Bumblebee and Optimus will be core set. Megatron, Starscream. Starscream might be. I really like Starscream. He was super annoying in the cartoons, but as an adult, I really like planes and jets and stuff. And he was just, you know, when he's not a robot, being super annoying with his, you know, high-pitched, squealy voice. Man, when I just love his jet form. Yeah, that's a tough call. I do really like Starscream. And you know, like I said, there'll be no doubt that he'll be in the game. My guess is similarly to how they did Destro as in the expansion and Cobra Commander in the core box. My guess is we'll get Megatron as the main bad in the core box, and then Starscream as in the expansion. That would make the most sense for the initial launch, assuming they did it, of course, the same way that they're doing G.I. Joe, which I can only assume that that's what they would do, but I don't like to assume for obvious reasons. So, yeah, those are my answers to that question. What about you? Let me ask you. Let's put that question back on you. What Autobot and Decepticon would you like to see most? And that goes for the whole chat, if anybody else wants to pipe in. It's not the best. It's not the best. But we're going to stick with it for now. I actually think I have a way to... Ironhide's a good one, too. And Jazz. I don't know who Springer is off the top of my head. I actually think I have a way to clean up that logo a little bit without redoing the red. So I'll let it dry and then hit it again. And keep working on this base. You can see what I mean, why I needed multiple coats and needed to get started on it. For the RPG mini, my hope is that I can do like a more dynamic base with, you know, foliage. Springer is the triple changer that was introduced in the animated. Oh, yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about. I just couldn't remember his name. I probably won't have time for the foliage on the RPG mini today, but just know that, like, he'll be sitting here. I'll paint the base black today, and then when I get around to being able to have time for a dynamic base on stream, he will be the example that I'll use. Because I like the idea of having universal bases for my board game, and then the dynamic bases for the RPG. Plus, I've already painted all of my other G.I. Joe miniatures with this base scheme. This Dark Reaper on top and black on the trim. And I actually thought about it the other day, actually, that I think I'm going to change that scheme to where all of the good guys, all the Joes, have this blue, because I really think it's a very good, like, military blue with the black, and then maybe red for the tops on the villains. And then maybe for the foot soldiers, I'll pick a different color, too. So basically everything is uniform, so you can see at a glance immediately who's a good guy, who's a bad guy, etc. You know, do the nemesis in purple or whatever. Okay. So, again, letting the Dark Reaper dry for another coat, because otherwise, if I just keep going over top of it, it's not going to do anything. And... what was I doing? Oh, the red. All right, so here's my plan for the red. I've already put the lines down with the red. So now what I want to do is retake my black and then put it over the red to separate the lines a little bit more, so they're just a little more distinct than what they are now. So I'm going to take a little bit of my black, which I needed more on my palette. And I need to thin it down a little bit here. And again, I got a sharp tip brush, and let's see if this even works. It may not work. So I'm going straight down the middle. And the sides to make everything a little more flat, right? And a little more uniform. Now, obviously, I know some of those lines need to be I think for how small the miniature is, that's a perfectly acceptable. It's no matter what I do, it's not going to be perfect, and I literally would sit here for hours trying to make it perfect. I think it looks pretty good without looking like the Cobra symbol, right? Because it kind of does a little bit. If I was freehanding the Cobra symbol, that's probably what it would look like. Oh, man, now that's all I see. Yep, that's where I'm gonna stop. Because I really like it and I don't want to jack it up. I shouldn't say I really like it. It's acceptable to me. And unless I plan to sit here for another 5 hours, which I don't think Renegade would really appreciate, I'm just going to jack it up. So 3 or 4 coats of this Dark Reaper on the base gives us the finish that we're looking for. Kind of. Let that dry and then look again. Grab our black. So I will say this. Going into this model, while I was excited to paint Snake Eyes because he's obviously, arguably the most iconic G.I. Joe character. He's the only one that's had his own movie, for crying out loud. I think, like, while I was excited, I was also nervous because, again, how do you fill 2 hours painting black, right? And this is not something I've ever really done. Like, in my head, I've thought about how you can do it. I've watched videos and, live streams of other people doing it, but I've never actually put it into practice before. Painting all of this black color. And one of the things I really want to try eventually, hopefully sooner rather than later, is painting a black and white miniature. So my plan is I have a bunch of Ninja Turtle miniatures, and my plan is I want to paint them like the original comics, where the turtle is all black and white, and then all of them have the red eye band. And so the only way you can tell them apart is by the letter on their belt and by what weapon they're using. So I really want to try learn a technique of how to paint in that style. So basically you're just using all grays and blacks and whites. But anyway, that's beside what I'm trying to get at. So I was very nervous about painting this model, excited and nervous. And in the end, I've had way more fun painting it than I thought I would. And it turned out way better than I thought it would, at least in my head. So I'm very excited about that. I'm very happy with... kind of the end product here. So I'm just painting the rim there. Make sure I got all the black. I'm going to go back to my... You know, now that I think about it, I probably should not paint the little guy's base black because he's all black, and that may not look great. I'm just now kind of thinking about that. So, after having used these Pro Acryls twice now, I'm liking them more and more. I still won't go out on a limb and say they're amazing or anything like that because I still feel like I need to use them more. But at the moment, if I was to have to give them a rating, I would rate them pretty high. Definitely better than Scale 75 for me. I know a lot of people like Scale 75. Scale 75 is the worst paint I've ever used, personally. I don't know if I would rate it as high as Citadel, but it's like half the price of Citadel. It's definitely better than Army Painter as well, so I would rate it higher than Army Painter and Scale 75. I don't know that it's better than Citadel. However, it's half the price of Citadel. So, at half the price, it makes it tough. I don't think that it's better than Vallejo either. Here's my problem with Vallejo. Vallejo is not beginner friendly. There are so many freaking colors. It is like impossible to get them all, and for a beginner, it's very overwhelming to see that many paint colors. So I don't recommend Vallejo for beginners the way that I recommend, what was the other one I just said? Citadel. But I would recommend these Pro Acryls to beginners because the price is right. B, of all the ones in that price range, like Army Painter and stuff, this is way better. And what's most important to me, especially for a beginner, is there's not a ton of paint colors that you have to be overwhelmed by. And Pro Acryl does not have a ton of colors. They have a very healthy selection so that experienced painters, feel like they have a wide enough variety, but not so much to where a beginner who's just getting into it would be overwhelmed by how many colors they have. I would put their color amount on par with, not Citadel, because Citadel has way more too, so I don't know what to compare it to. But they come in kits, so like I got the beginner kit and the metallic kit, and then there's expansions. They call them expansions. So I have the base set and the metallic set, and then there's like I think 3 or 4 expansions that give you extra colors. So the more that I try these and the more that I seem to like them, maybe I'll get the expansions as well. I just haven't I haven't used them enough to feel the need like I'm missing a color. They mix really well, so I've been able to create colors. And if you're good at doing that, then there's no need. You know what I mean? So I'm just painting this base now. The other base is on the big guy is pretty good. I may have to go over it one more time. We'll see. You know what I feel like? I feel like some Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I might message my wife and ask her to pick up some, because she's not home right now. She took the kids late night shopping. Because we bought some stuff on Sunday that didn't end up fitting. So maybe she can pick up some Ben & Jerry's for me. I seem to remember somebody else liking Ben & Jerry's that I know, but... I hear noise upstairs, though, so I wonder if either A, my son didn't go, or if B, if they're back already. I find it hard to believe they'd be back already because they didn't leave till like 6:30, and it hasn't even been 2 hours, and that's just unlike my wife to... Let's see. Joe and Jerry's. Who's Joe and Jerry's? Let's see. Check my phone really quick. Somebody just sent me a text that says, "So sorry to hear about Bella. I know you loved her." I don't know who this person is, and I don't know Bella. Any chance you can get Ben and Jerry's? My wife said done. She's the bestest. Maybe they didn't even go shopping. It's possible that they just decided to not go. Because I do hear noise upstairs. Oh, Joe and Jerry's. Do you think she'll deliver on her way home? Yeah, she might stop by Wales and bring you some. So that's not drying fast enough for me to be able to put another coat on. And this one's not dry yet either. It makes me want to paint Gung Ho. Here's my Gung Ho miniature. Makes me want to paint. You know what, I'm going to. Why not? I really just like this Dark Reaper on top of these Joe miniatures. Because again, like I said, I just feel like it's a great like military blue. This is like the third time I've painted the base of Gung Ho, by the way. This is, by the way, in case you didn't know, this is also from the RPG set that Renegade is selling. And I think it's up for pre-order, if I'm not mistaken. I think you can pre-order it. You might even be able to just buy it outright. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head what they have for pre-order and what they have for sale. But I know that this is like the third time I've painted this base. Yeah, it used to be a flag, but my freehand was awful. So then I changed it to just straight black. And now that I'm painting all of these, like the black and the blue, I just like it so much that... And eventually, like I said, my goal is to give all of the RPG miniatures a dynamic base with like foliage and stuff. But for now, until I can get to that point, I'll just make everything like uniform. So it's all the same. So that way, if for some reason I never get to do the dynamic bases, I don't feel bad because they're like not painted. Any chance that I get to do dynamic bases over just plain painting, I always do. But it's time consuming and tough to do on stream because it's time consuming. Because you gotta let glue dry and add rocks, and it's just tough to do all of that in one stream. Big guy is almost done drying, which is nice because we are out of time, right? So I'll finish up these bases. It'll only take me another minute. or two as I let stuff dry. And I guess I'll start doing my plugs. And then hopefully by the time I'm done with the plugs, then it'll be time for us to be finished. So, let's see. So next week, I will be back to Monday, painting for More Phenomenal Monday. I will have a poll up at the end of the week, Friday or Saturday, on all the socials, so that you can vote for what Ranger miniature you would like to see me paint next. I get really good feedback from those, so I'm going to keep doing them. You can vote multiple times, so if you're in all the groups and you follow me, between my Instagram, my Facebook, Renegade's Facebook groups, you have, I think, 4 or 5 opportunities to vote. So please make sure that you join all of that, and you can do that. This will be my last Joe painting session for the foreseeable future, because I am now officially out of models to paint. I do have more coming. Renegade has let me know that more are coming, but I don't have a confirmation of when those will be here, and I don't think they will be here by 2 Thursdays from now. So, again, follow all of the socials, be in the group and stuff like that, and I will make sure that I announce in plenty of time when the next Joe will be. So, as of right now, it will not be 2 Thursdays from now like it has been. But yeah, I know that more are coming. We just have not worked out when that will get here. They just don't have a lot of them ready to go to distribute to me to do that. So I do apologize for that if you've been enjoying these, which obviously you have, or you would not be here, right? What else? What else I got going on? Oh, the biggest thing. So you know me as being the Renegade painter, which I am and hopefully always will be. However, I'm going to start doing my own thing as well. So starting this Thursday and every Thursday for the foreseeable future, I will be having my own live streaming show where I paint more than just Rangers and Joes. I'm going to paint all kinds of stuff. You can find that at twitch.tv/Circle of Nerds, one word, Circle of Nerds. And that starts this Thursday with a Star Wars model for Revenge of the 5th, because Thursday is Revenge of the 5th. So Star Wars model this Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, which I think is 4 p.m. Pacific, and some particular time in the UK. Yeah, so I hope that you will join me there. Join all my socials. It's so tiny. On Facebook and TikTok, at The Real Daddy Louie on Instagram. You'll see all of my posts and my reminders for when my stream is, Renegade stream, what we're painting, polls, so many things coming down the pipeline, and your support means the world to me. I want to thank Renegade for having me on these streams, allowing me to do this. This is a dream come true. Without them, none of this would be possible. I wouldn't have my own show coming out. I wouldn't be a painter for y'all. So all the love and support always from me to Renegade and to you, the people who watch me. These bases are kind of done. This one probably needs another coat, but I have to let it dry before I can get to that point, which I will do, and then take photos. And then, of course, we have the big guy here. You can see the finished product. Now that everything is all nice and dry, I think he turned out really, really good. Even the logo on the shoulder looks not terrible. Again, I won't say it's great, but it's not terrible. I don't know about his butt. I might fix that. His butt's kind of too gray. I don't know. Anyway, I thank you. I appreciate you. Make sure that you take care of yourself. You take care of each other. You play your games. You paint your miniatures. And I will see you hopefully this Thursday, 2 days from now, at twitch.tv/Circle of Nerds, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Love you. Take care. Have a great week. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Oh, I pressed the wrong button.